Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTG Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is Green-Red Dinosaurs for Rivals of Ixalan Standard. So last week we did a Jund list based on a poll in the Facebook group, and this week I'm going to do a green-red list. In the future we'll probably do a green-red-white list for dinosaurs, but today just going to be the green-red list, and I think this deck is actually quite good and very fast. But of course, before I get into it, make sure to like the video if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Helps that a lot, helps keep these videos rolling, and helps keep content flowing. But without further ado, let's get right into the list here. We have 4 of Drover of the Mighty, a 2-mana 1/1 human druid. Drover of the Mighty gets +2/+2 as long as you control a dinosaur, and it taps, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Very good in the early game being able to tap for mana, and very good in the mid game being able to be a 3/3 attacking in. So I think this card has a lot of flexibility, and that's why it's a 4 of here. Next up here we have Otepic Huntmaster, a 2-mana 1/2 human shaman. Dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That's kind of important for us, but the more important part is here, tap target dinosaur gains haste until end of turn. I feel like that's a little bit more important than making dinosaur spells less 1 mana less to cast, because we do have Drover the Mighty here to cast for actually tapping for mana, so it is our mana dork. But I do think Otepic Huntmaster is very good at being able to make our actual board state a lot faster than normal. It is a 2 of here. I do think it's probably not good to be a 4 of in a deck, but I think a 2 of here is definitely fine. Moving up to the 3 mana slot here, we have 3 of Deathgorge Scavenger, a 3-mana 3/2 dinosaur. Whenever Deathgorge Scavenger enters the battlefield or attacks, you may exile target card from a graveyard. If it's a creature card, we gain 2 life. If it is a non-creature card, Deathgorge Scavenger gets a +1/+1 until end of turn. So very good against an Eternalized deck, a Selesnya deck, very good against the Godfrey's Gift deck, things like that. And just overall a decent card for us at gaining some life if we're up against a random bread strategy, stuff like that. I do think attacking in for 4 power on turn 4 is quite good as well, thanks to Deathgorge Scavenger's secondary ability. And it's actually quite good for us to be able to exile cards from our graveyard, since we really don't have any graveyard interaction at all either. So if our opponent doesn't have any cards in their graveyard just yet, we're going to have cards in our graveyard probably, and we really want to use that for Deathgorge Scavenger to kind of feed it to make sure we get in for 4 points of damage. Next up here we have Thrashing Brontodon, just a 1-of here. It's a 3-mana 3/4 dinosaur. You can pay 1 and sack it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. This is very good against the control decks, the approach decks, and even the Mardu Vehicles decks in game 1. Hopefully shutting down a Heart of Kirin, things like that. Hopefully shutting down Cast Out, Ixalan's Binding. Keep in mind that if a Cast Out hits the battlefield, you can actually Thrashing Brontodon, sack it, destroy it before it actually has a point, or has the time to actually grab a target creature on the battlefield or non-land permanent, things like that. Thrashing Brontodon, I feel like, has a lot of power in game 1, and of course there are some in the sideboard too for that game 2 matchup too. But I do think making it a game 1 mainstay here is quite good. Next up here we have Ripjaw Raptor, a 4-mana 4/5 4-of. Lots of 4s there. The dinosaur within range. Whenever Ripjaw Raptor is dealt damage, draw a card. So against a round of red strategy, you're probably going to draw 2 or 3 cards, thanks to their burn strategy with the Harness Lightnings, the Lightning Strikes, the Shocks, things like that. Against decks where they're actually going to get Fatal Push off a lot, Ripjaw Raptor is just a 4-mana 4/5, and that's kind of okay most of the time, because the 5 toughness does mean it can get in for quite a bit of damage against our opponent, because they really don't have a lot of creatures to stack up against it. But I do think Ripjaw Raptor is very, very good, very, very, I think, effective at having a lot of utility, as well as being just a big body overall. Next up here we have a Glorybringer. It is not a dinosaur here, it's a dragon. It is a 5-mana 3/4/4 dragon with flying and haste. You may exert Glorybringer as it attacks. When you do, deals 4 damage to target non-dragon creature and opponent control. So Glorybringers can't knock out other Glorybringers from the sky unless they just straight up block them. So that's kind of the case there. But Glorybringer can be like a silver bullet for us to be able to kind of combat another dinosaur deck, or another deck where they have like a really big creature on their side of the field that we really don't like dealing with, being able to deal 4 damage to it, such as an internalized creature or a Godfrey's Gift target as well. I do think Glorybringer having haste and flying does mean it's going to be probably the card that's going to end a lot of matches for us in the dinosaur matchups. Next up here we have 4 of Regisaur Alpha, a 5-mana 4/4 dinosaur. Other dinosaurs you control have haste. Haste is very important for us. And of course, when it enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with trample. So a 4/4 that creates a 3/3, and that creature automatically has trample thanks to Regisaur Alpha's other ability. I think this card is amazing. That's why it's 4 of here. That's why Green Red Dinosaurs is so good. Regisaur Alpha is just a force to be reckoned with once it hits the battlefield. If we have an Otepic Huntmaster, we want to give Alpha haste as soon as possible so we can get him for 7 points of damage on the play. Next up here we have Ghalta Primal Hunger. This is the last creature in the list here. It's a 12 mana 12/12 legendary creature Elder Dinosaur. It's a 1-of here, only a 1-of. Ghalta Primal Hunger costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control, and it has trample. The reason it's only a 1-of here is because I'm going up against a lot of strategies and testing with either Cast Out, Ixalan's Bindings, a lot of Fatal Pushes, a lot of cards that kill our creatures, to where Ghalta is just a dead card in our hand like most of the game, if not the entire game. I feel like a lot of the times Ghalta is going to be a dead card, and I feel like we should probably bring in Carnage Tyrant in game 1 over this card instead, depending on the matchup. But I did bring it in here just kind of for that respect, because a lot of people do like this card quite a lot, and that's why it's in the list here. But that is all the cards as far as creatures in the deck here. Let's move on to spells now. We have 4 of Commune with Dinosaurs, a 1 green mana sorcery. Look at the top card of your library. You may reveal a dinosaur or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So Commune with Dinosaurs, if we have kind of like a lopsided hand where it has a lot of mana or a lot of creatures, and we have 1 green mana, we can use Commune with Dinosaurs on turn 1, get into either another mana or another creature. It's very useful at being able to helpfully filter through our deck. Next up here we have 3 Abrade. Because Mardu Vehicles is kind of coming back in a big way right now, Abrade's going to be a mainstay in our game 1 game plan. It's a 2 mana instant, deals 3 damage to target creature, which is decent against other matchups, but it can destroy target artifact, which that's squarely going to be pointed at Heart of Kiran or either through Harvester, things like that in the Mardu Vehicles matchup. If not, it might be just pointed at a Godfar's Gift strategy if we go up against those strategies too. Then we have a Thunderhead Migration here. It's a 4-of for 2 mana sorcery. As additional cost to cast Thunderhead Migration, reveal a dinosaur card from your hand or pay 1 colorless mana. So we don't want to pay this colorless mana here. We want to just pay it for 2 and just reveal a dinosaur. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. This is basically rampant growth for us in the dinosaur matchup here, and I think this card is really, really good at being able to ramp into our big bombs and actually thin our deck as well by thinning our deck by 2 cards. Thunderhead Migration is one of the best cards for us while being in Dinosaurs. Next up here for us, we have Savage Stomp. It's a 3 mana 4-of here sorcery. Savage Stomp costs 2 less to cast if it targets a dinosaur you control. So we have all dinosaurs except for those humans we don't want to talk about. So it's a 1 mana sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature fights target creature you don't control. Savage Stomp is a fantastic removal spell for us, and it actually makes our creatures larger, which is even better. I do like Savage Stomp quite a bit, and I think this card is going to be a mainstay in a lot of the dinosaur builds, especially because there are just so many aggro strategies that are so much faster than us in the like turn 1 to 3 range. And I think Savage Stomp helps us in that turn 1 to 3 to hopefully get rid of a creature we don't like. But that is it for all the cards besides lands. Let's go over lands real quick. We have 2 Field of Ruin here. There are a lot of flip lands right now in the format, and Field of Ruin really helps deal with them really quickly. Taps for colorless mana, pay 2, tap it, sacrifice Field of Ruin, destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Each player searches his or her library for a basic land card, puts it onto the battlefield, then shovels his or her library. So that does mean they come in untapped, so very good for us if we want to tap this and hopefully hold up a Commune with Dinosaurs or maybe even a Savage Stomp. Field of Ruin is very good at being able to just get rid of that Adonto that had been flipped, or a Path of Metal that had been flipped, things like that, or even that like Golem creator, the 4/4 that makes artifact creatures. That is a horrible card to go up against, and Field of Ruin is going to help deal with that. Next up we have Rootbound Crack, just a buddy land, comes in tapped unless we control a mountain or a forest. Taps for red and green. We have 2 Shelter Ticket here, just 2 of, not a 4 of here. A lot of lists had 4 of, and I feel like that's a little bit of a misplay on some users' behalfs. But I think it is important to be coming in on turn 1 maybe as a mountain forest. That way Rootbound Crack can come in on turn 2 as untapped. But it is a good cycling card for us as well, since we do have Thunderhead Migration and Commune with Dinosaurs too. But I think this card is good. I think this card is just a little bit too slow for what we want to do. Then we have a 7 mountain and 8 forest, and that is the full 60 on the game 1 game plan. But what can we do in this sideboard here? There are a lot of control matchups right now. There are a lot of removal spells. What can we do in the game 2? So let's go to the sideboard here. We have 2 Scavenger Grounds as a land, add colors to your mana pool, pay 2, sack a desert, exile all cards from all graveyards. Usually we're just going to have it sack itself since we have no other deserts in the deck. Scavenger Grounds is very good against the Godfar's Gift strategy, very good against the Celestia strategy, getting rid of those Resilient Kinras and Adorned Pouncers, and can be kind of brought in against a Earthshaker Kinra strategy, where they have some cards like that. But more often than not, it's going to be brought in against the Celestia, probably the Anointer Priest decks where they have like that card and maybe some hidden stockpile, things like that, where they gain a lot of life. and probably, of course, or most likely, and obviously, the Godforsaken Gift strategy. Next up here, we have 2 Blood Sun. Again, the flip lands are kind of a hard to deal with card at the moment, and Blood Suns shut them down completely. It's a 3-mana enchantment. When Blood Sun enters the battlefield, we draw a card, so we do get card advantage off this card. All lands lose all abilities except mana abilities, so this does mean Shelter, Thicket, and Rootbound Crack come in just untapped regularly and can be just dual lands for us, which is very good, but it also shuts down other cards on our opponent's side of the field, like a flipped Path of Metal or flipped Legion's Landing that we don't like dealing with in the mid to late game. Blood Sun is going to be coming in game 2 to deal with those. Next up here, we have 2 Sweltering Suns. A Hidden Stockpile strategy and the Monument, Catcher Monument strategy are kind of annoying right now, and so bringing these 2 in game 2 is going to be a must. So 3-mana sorcery deals 3 damage to each creature and cycling for 3 mana. If we bring this in game 2, we do not want to be cycling this card. We want to hold this into our hand until we actually get rid of it and casting it. This card is quite good for us at clearing the board. Next up, we have 2 more Thrashing Brontodon. It's a 3-mana 3/4 dinosaur. Of course, we just talked about this earlier, but it's very, very good against the Approach the Second Sun decks, any of the white-blue decks, anything with cast outs, Ixalan's Binding, things like that. And of course, it could come in against the black-blue control decks, against cards like the Argyle's Bloodfast, as well as the Search for Azcanta. Just helps shutting those cards down as quickly as possible. And it's a 3/4 body too, so we could just use these to replace Deathgorge Scavenger if we're up against a faster strategy where we don't want our creature to die to a 2-power hasty creature. Next up here, we have 2 of Shaundra, Torch of Defiance. This is going to be a great card against control for us. It's a 4-mana, 4 loyalty legendary Planeswalker, or just a Planeswalker Shaundra. +1, exile top card of your library. You may just cast that card. If you don't, Shaundra, Torch of Defiance deals 2 damage to each opponent. Very, very good. If we whiff on a land, we actually just deal 2 points of damage, which is decent. +1, add 2 red mana to your mana pool, which is decent. -3, she deals 4 damage to target creature. That's very good at being able to shut down a creature, most likely an Eternalized creature or maybe a Glorybringer, things like that. And of course, -7 is our game ender. You get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, the emblem deals 5 damage to target creature or player. If we get a Shaundra to emblem, that's basically going to be game. And if we do have the ability to emblem with Shaundra, we want to as soon as possible because it just does so much value for us throughout the match. Next up here, we have 2 Hour of Devastation, a 5-mana sorcery. All creatures lose indestructible until end of turn. Hour of Devastation deals 5 damage to each creature in each non-bolus planeswalker. This is going to come in again against the Rona strategy. This is going to come in against the Hazoret the Fervent strategy. We really don't like those indestructible creatures. Hour of Devastation is going to come in and deal with those as quickly as possible. We do want to be aware, though, that it does, destroy most of our creatures as well. So having a Carnage Tyrant coming in with this, as well as having a Galta hopefully on the battlefield, does mean Hour of Devastation is going to be just a basic board wipe for our opponent. Next up here, we have 2 Carnage Tyrant, which we just talked about. A 6-mana 7/6 dinosaur, can be countered, trample, and hexproof. This card is amazing against a control strategy, but if they have any white in their deck, like the approach decks right now, a Settle the Wreckage can still shut down a Carnage Tyrant, so we do want to be aware of that, and we do want to be very leery of that going forward. But having trample and hexproof and can be countered is very, very good. And having Otepic Huntmaster, hopefully as well, on the battlefield to give this some haste is ridiculous. And the last card in the sideboard here is 1 Struggle to Survive. It's just decent removal. It's a great way to kind of shut down an approach strategy, and a great way to, if we're up against a random mill strategy or something like that, we can use Survive as well. But most often we're going to use a Struggle there to just have a straight-up removal spell against an opponent's creature. And that is the full 75, folks. On MTG Traders, it's coming to about 139 tickets, and on paper it's coming to about $212, which isn't too bad. I would say this is kind of in the mid to high range as far as a cost for standard at the moment, but I do think this deck is very, very good, and a deck I would definitely want to take to an FNM if we're into Dinosaurs. But of course, let me know what you guys think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you have any suggestions for it? I know Raptor Hatchling was a card I talked about a little bit putting into the deck, but I kind of, at the end of the day, kind of decided against it because I wanted a Otepic Huntmaster there as well. But I do like this deck a lot, but let me know what you think. Like the video if you liked it, and of course, subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. I'll see you guys on the stream or in the next video. Peace.